stories, my friends. I know I promised you a boxing episode. Unfortunately, my cousin Michael hurt his bicep. We'll be doing that shortly as soon as he heals up. In the meantime, we figured we'd do kind of a walk around, if you will, a little sightseeing for people that don't live here, people from all over the country, maybe all over the world, who knows, who see this. So back in the day, there used to be bridges here. It was a major highway. I think there was like 2-3 different levels, all right? And then they had what they call a big dig. It was legendary around construction venues, if you will. It took maybe 20 years to get that done. And they removed all of that highway and whatnot. All the bridges and all taken down. And they put up a nice little public parkway called the Greenway. The thing about the underpass back then was there was a way to walk into North End. You would take the train. Actually, the train was right here. This is the train station here. That's Haymarket train station, leading you to downtown Boston. You would come from the train station there into the North End, and you go this way. You'd be like a little tunnel, and it had a painted sign that said North End. And it was like a little tunnel that you would walk underneath. And they had little ceramic pictures and whatnot. The old North Church made a little ceramic tile set. I actually made one. Me, my friend Michael Bev. We got together during a project time. We went to school at St. Anthony School in the middle of North End, and we made this stop sign, simple as it was, but they actually put it up on the wall, and it was in that tunnel for maybe 30 years before the big dig was taken down and everything else was put up the way it is now. You can see it's always under construction. It's Boston, the city itself, has grown larger. I feel like it almost tries to compete with New York. We've always been kind of a little brother to New York. And construction is always underway here with apartment buildings, office buildings and whatnot, making it really, really big time as far as the city goes. It's probably one of the biggest cities now in the United States. Not when I was a kid, it was a lot different, way different. We would walk down this area here, we would get like 5-6 strong, because once you left the North End, you had to watch your back. We weren't comfortable leaving the North End. We knew we had family and friends, and we knew we were protected by certain elements. Out of here, we were on our own. That being said, we go up to the downtown Boston, which had like shopping stores. Back then, there was a Jordan Marsh, Filene's, a place called Tello's, Strawberries to buy records, Crystals, we bought shoes, and we would just kind of hang up there and see different types of people and different way of life, if you will. It was always fun. It was always a kind of an adventure. And then we would kind of get back to the North End and feel really comfortable again, safe and sound where we belong in our home. On the way up there was a place, the Union Oyster House. Believe it or not, it's been around for over 200 years. Rumor has it, Benjamin Franklin had a drink in there and used to have lunch all the time. This here is the Stillman Playground. That little corner right there it was a little basketball court, believe it or not. But behind it, we had an after-hour club that lasted for a few years. Early 80s, early 90s, and then it was done. But they sold fireworks here. You know, back then we had a mafia element, if you will. And they protected the neighborhood. They did a lot for the neighborhood. If somebody got hurt, it's because they were involved in it. It wasn't because they were innocent. Everybody had something to gain by being in the mafia, and something to lose, obviously. Especially your life at that point, if it could happen. But that being said, they sold fireworks. This was a place that you could come and buy fireworks during the summer, before the 4th of July. The train station was right across the way, within feet. Get off the train, nice and safe to come really in the beginning of the North End. You didn't have to go deep, where you might have been lost or caught up with other people and scared to get out or couldn't get out. Over here, you could come in, get your fireworks, and go out. Back to the train and go back to where you lived, Dorchester, whatnot, wherever you came from. The thing about it was, nobody robbed anybody. If you ever robbed somebody that just purchased those fireworks, the person you were working for would let you know you can't do things like that, either physically or verbally, but you would never do something like that again, and you would never do it in the first place. The mob ran it, and they took care of the people that worked for them. But if you try to fuck them over, lie to them or beat them in any way, shape, or form, you'd be in for a serious hurt. The Stillman Playground. Not my favorite playground, as you can see, but still, kind of a landmark in the North End. So Boston, obviously, I know, it's a huge sports town. Now behind me, right down here, is the Boston Garden. back then, the Boston Garden was a legendary place. Boston Bruins, Celtics played there. The thing that I remember the most is my brother Sal would take me to games. He's got about 9 years on me. So if I'm 12, he's 21, 14, he's 23, on and on and on. And he'd say, yeah, you want to go to a game? And I say, yeah, how are we going to get tickets? The game's in like 2 hours. I said, don't worry about it. Come with me. We'd walk to the Boston Garden. He'd say, yeah, there's $5. Go get some like roasted peanuts or something, like beat it. And I was like, for what? He goes, yeah, just shut up in here. It's $5. Go get some peanuts. 2 minutes later, we come over and he'd have floor seats. I said, how the fuck did you get these? He goes, I know a guy who knows a guy. Don't worry about it. He would get them from a local friend of ours who scalped tickets. He can get you tickets for anything. Chess games, and it didn't matter how small or how big. This guy, his name was John the Bear. You can say that now. John the Bear is legendary around as far as ticket scalping. But during the 80s, because of my brother Sal, got to see all the greatest games the Celtics played. Huge basketball fan. Celtics and Lakers. We used to sleep over the Garden. One time, me, Dan Toscano, we were just kids, maybe 13, 14. I think it was like 86, maybe 15, 16 years old we were. And it was game 7. And we slept there with an older friend of ours, Virgil, Stephen Virgilio, another legendary kid from a legendary family in the North End. He looked out for us as we kind of camped out, waited for the next day to get our 7th game World Championship basketball Lakers Celtics tickets. One of the greatest memories I've ever had. And then they ended up losing that game. Not so great of a memory after the fact, but during it, lots of fun hanging out. Virgil will go get Chinese food down Chinatown here and come back about 2 in the morning for us to bang out. Dynamite, little sleeping bags, pillows, whatnot. We just slept there for the night. I actually, it was just something I just think it was one of the greatest experiences I had, to sleep out waiting in line to get tickets. I actually, between us, don't tell everyone, I sold them $300 a pop. They were $9 seats. Back then, the Garden had obstructed views. Literally, you would sit like this, and a pole would be in front of you. You got to move left to right to see the game. I would rather watch it on home, and plus $300 back then was huge. So I took the money and ran. Just saying. So I mentioned earlier on the roof, the Union Oyster House. And on the way past that, you go downtown Boston, shop and whatnot. But this particular place right here, this was a place that my friend Virgil owned. Now, we talked about Steven, he was a DJ, Virgil, and then there's Big Virgil, his brother Anthony, one of the toughest guys in the North End, one of the most solid people I've ever met, one of the best looking guys. But he owned this place right here for a couple of years, and every Christmas Eve, whether it was here or in the North End at some other place, he always carte blanched everything. We could go there, have dinner, drinks, and party before we went with our families on Christmas Eve night. So I had mentioned from the rooftop that the North End was like kind of a circle, and if you left that circle, you came into unknown or uncharted waters. This place here is one of those places on the way to downtown Boston that we would cut through. As you can see, it's old. It's colonial Boston American history. Cobblestones, old buildings that are at least 200 years old, if not older. We're going to go to one of the most famous restaurants, one of the oldest restaurants for seafood Boston's ever had. So this is the Union Oyster House, as you can see, established 1826. Unbelievable. Still standing, just the way it was back then is the way it is today. As we move forward, walking downtown Boston. Here's a funny story about downtown Boston and shopping. So my mom would take me downtown all the time, all right? I didn't want to go. Who wants to go as a 6, 7-year-old kid? Dragged me, more or less. Filene's Basement, Beat Bar, on and on and on. Drove me crazy. Woolworths for lunch, which was cool. Other than that, it was a pain in the ass. But I was real poor. And in 1977, a movie called Star Wars came out. And I saw it with my sister Lisa and her friend Michelle Murphy. And I'll never forget it. Action figures became the new thing. And I didn't have the money for it. But I remember that Woolworths had a toy department. And I would walk downtown Boston all by myself at like 8, 9 years old, following some adult going that way. And if I had to go right, I'd follow an adult going right. If I had to go left, I followed an adult going left, until it led me eventually to Woolworths, where I'd take the escalator up and I would do a 5-finger discount. I would steal whatever I could. And one thing I could say, I never got caught. Where I learned those skills, just from being poor, necessity, wanting something, not being able to pay for it, but finding a means to get it. But I'll tell you what I also got, a fucking beating, where my mother would do spring cleaning, as all moms did back in the North End. Throw you out the house, tell you when you could come home when she was done. But little did I know she'd find my little cachet of Star Wars figures. And I got fucking duckered out and up and down the street. I don't think I stole anything that she saw ever again. So this is it, the Union Oyster House. And I had mentioned Paul Revere. I had mentioned Benjamin Franklin. Guys like that would hang out here, party if you will. You know, I'm thinking maybe Benjamin Franklin had one too many cognacs back in the day, got a little fucked up and put a kite on a string and got zapped. Thinking that's how electricity was discovered, by accident I would think. But all being said, he was a smart, intelligent man. And this is the place that he would come for lunch, dinner, or just to get a little fucked up, if you will. Oh, good old Ben. He was all right, as far as I'm concerned. So like I mentioned, the underpass, okay? The Big Dig has changed it all. When I was a kid, there were layers of like highways, if you will. But underneath it was really scary. It was dark, cramped. It was wet, dirty. A lot of homeless people were there. You know, drug addicts and whatnot. You didn't really go underneath that underpass. The only spot you could was in the North End walkway or by Francesco's Pizza. By Francesco's Pizza, they had a little, like to the left, alleyway underneath the bridge going toward North Station. And I would always walk through there knowing it was safe. Right to my right was Francesco's, you know, and it was known for a place where certain guys hung out and owned. And they would look out for me if I went through, going to movies and whatnot, playing video games or going to a basketball game or a Bruins game. They always looked out for us. But it was very scary, and once that was all taken away, it was like the floodgates were open for anyone to do or come into the North End. People that really didn't belong because they were violent or dangerous in ways that I wasn't used to. The North End was always secluded, kind of an island in itself, until the Big Dig tore it all down, for better or worse, and let everybody in. So much for our castle walls.
Someone ordered.
Famous modern pastry. Best pastry shop in the North End. You want a cannoli? You come here. As you can see, all these people, look at them all. The line goes around the corner. Go over to my mother's house, she'll make you a cannoli in 2 minutes, I'm just saying. Here's a fun fact for you all. This place behind me, Galleria Umberto. Good friend of mine, Ralph, brother Paul, his mom, they originated the store. Down over here on Parmenter Street. There was a small little hole in the wall. You'd actually have to go down the stairs. It was in a cellar. All you could buy was pizza, dough, or scally sliced bread. Homemade, fresh, that his mother would make, original recipes and passed on. As they got bigger, they opened it up on Hanover Street, where they started to sell arancinis, rice balls, meat, a little gravy, peas, mozzarella inside, fried rice ball. Open it up, bang, delicious. Panzerottis, they're little like potato cakes, breaded lightly with a little provolone inside, a little basil as well. One of my favorites is the paninis. They're like figure-eight little rolls, handmade, sesame seed with prosciutto, salami, ham, and provolone wrapped inside. Umberto's is open from 11 till 2 in the afternoon, 6 days a week, 3 hours a day. That's all they need. Line out the door, sold out by 2, tutta venuta. So there's a few churches in the North End, and one particular church, my church, as a student of St. Anthony's and Christopher Columbus as I got older, was St. Leonard's. And this is St. Leonard's Peace Garden. Let's take a walk inside, it's beautiful. So in St. Leonard's Church, this is what I think about. Believe it or not, I was baptized here as a baby. I had my first communion here, my holy confirmation, as well as my brothers and sisters. This place was a place of psalms. We used to sing them, hymns, read Bible verses, watch films about the Lord and his life and about saints and all the things they did to make this world a better place. Being a student of St. Anthony's in Columbus, this was my church, our official church, to go every Sunday to meet up and pray and pay respects to God. Funny thing is, a friend of mine, Michael Della Penna, became a priest. He and Richard Martinetti, they traveled the world, the Vatican, Spain, helping everybody out, and then ended up here at one time or another. Richard one time, and Michael right now has been the runner of our parish, St. Leonard's Church. Michael Della Penna is Father Mike, loved throughout the North End. Richard Martinetti, same thing. Father Rick, Father Mike, born and raised, playing for the home team. So here's a funny story. Not really a great story to tell in a church, but God does work in mysterious ways. So we had a few kids that lived up here. You know, the North End has changed so much. Nobody really looks out for the North End, other than people like myself. So they would get a little crazy. Now this is a church setting, peaceful. It's supposed to be quiet and nice. They were loud, drunk, bottles breaking, obnoxious, and rude. So a few of us got together, gave them a little offer they can't refuse, if you will, and it all ended. We nipped that shit right in the bud. That shit don't fly around here. Not while I'm still here, and other people that I know and love. So yeah, I'm on Hanover Street, and you never know who you're gonna meet now. OG, born and raised North End guys are very rare. Get over here, Maurizio. Where you going? Get over here. Here's a guy born and raised here. His father had a meat store here, many of them back then. Get over here, say hello to the crowd. My friend Maurizio Fabo. What a name. A true Italian, a true North Ender, born and raised like myself. Yep. Like I said, very rare. We're gonna be like the dinosaurs, extinct, but for now, we're still kicking. Love you so much.
Love you too, brother.
Be good. Smells like wine, I love it. Beautiful. Ciao, my friend. So this was a girls' school called Julia Billiard back in the day. This here was the high school I went to called Christopher Columbus. But fortunately for me, when I went there, they combined the two. That used to be just a boys' school, and that was just a girls' school. But when I got there in '84, it was both. Thank God, I'm just saying. As we walk further down, this is North Bennett Street. So North Bennett Street is adjacent from the St. Leonard's Church. This is the clergy house where all the nuns and priests would house themselves. Right to the left is a playground. It's the St. Anthony's playground. Believe it or not, back in the early 70s, early 80s, when it stopped, that used to be the home of the St. Anthony's Festival in the playground itself. DJing was my friend Virgil, Stephen Virgilio, always out there, or Michael Lopiori. Two of the best DJs known in the North End. They used to sell little tapes, $5. They'd make you a mixtape back in the 80s. Nothing like it. Taught me a few things. Both had cellars, Michael and Virgil, that we would go and have a few drinks, and he would show us the ropes. Count the beats, mix the two turntables, bring the sound up and down, and make our own mixtapes as we got older. Really, really unique town. This is the playground that we talked about. Virgil would set a stand up here, I remember, with his two turntables, whatnot, equalizer. We'd have rides here, food and whatnot, and it would go to Prince Street on the opposite side, up to Hanover left and right. That's as far as the St. Anthony's Feast was back in the day. This here, right in the background, is a school. Let's take a walk inside the playground. We get a better shot of it. It's now all condominiums. All these schools are gone by the wayside. They're all housing places with big money people living in them. Not me, people like me, but people that have got old. So like I said, the playground. This was my grammar school. Now we'd have recess, right? You remember that back in the day? Well, this was the door we left to go play, and this was the park we played in. And when recess was over, the nuns would come out with these big bells, ding, da ding, da ding. We'd have to form lines. Class first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then file up into our classrooms. Funny thing is, on any given day when you came out to play, there could have been some kind of repercussions from the night before. For instance, back over here in the corner, we found a car still smoldering that was burnt and lit on fire for what? I don't know. Insurance money? I don't know. There might have been bodies back there, as far as I know. I know things happened that night in this park, unlike things that happened in the day. No little kids playing at night. Men playing adult games, if you will. So here's a little story I just thought about. You know, walking around here brings back all kinds of memories. Some good, some not so good, but this is a crazy memory. So I knew a guy, lived on the Sheep Street where I grew up, about 8 years older than me. As we got older, he became more and more well known. In what way? In a gangster way. Feared, if you will. Kind of a Joe Pesci type guy. Violent temper, fly off the handle like that. And I hung out with a bunch of different people. One particular kid was a pretty tough kid, and he was a scary kid. He liked to do bad things. He was known to stab people, so he was kind of feared in that sense. He was out here one day, right at this park. He left the park and he just decided to take a piss right in the middle of the street as cars were driving by on some Friday night. All of a sudden, car screeches. Guy jumps out, and I never seen such a tough guy shit his pants so much. No, he said, no, I'm sorry. I don't want to mention that guy's name, but he kept repeating his name. No, please, I didn't mean it. And the guy got him to the corner over here and was slapping the fucking shit out of him. And all the kid kept saying as he's getting slapped was, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. And all he said, that particular guy who did the slapping, was, next time you pull your prick out, take a piss on cars, you better know whose fucking car you're pissing on. And he left. I'll never forget it. It was the craziest thing I ever saw. Years later, he was killed. I guess that's just how it goes in the mob. So, cobblestones we mentioned. As you can see, cobblestones. Like I said, that's how it was back in the day. This here, right here, is Paul Revere's house. It's still here today for all these wonderful tourists to come and look at. As I pan around to this area here, this was a park called North Square, and my sister hung here, a few years older than myself, where I hung out with some other older kids. One particular person that took me under his wing was Big Don, Dante Serignano. Became real good friends, looked out for me, taught me right and wrong, helped me out with problems I might have had, and at some point, as I got older in years, we became real close. So where I would ask him for help in beefs and whatnot, he came to me in a certain situation where we had a problem, and we took care of it. That's just how the North End was and the neighborhood was. You looked out for people, they looked out for you, and hey, speaking of looking out for somebody, here's another North End OG guy, my friend Christian, born and raised as well, owns a great restaurant called Forcella, Scusi. Christian, say hello to everybody, my man.
Good to see you. What's going on?
Just filming an episode of North End Stories. Every time I see a guy like you, I gotta give him a stop and say how much I love you and appreciate you. God bless you. Trying to.
I hear you, buddy.
Love you.
Good to see you.
Say goodbye to Christian, everybody. Have a good night, all right, Chris? I'll talk to you soon. So again, nighttime Hanover Street. Look at the difference. Look at how beautiful it is, right? You got fire, you got warmth, you got food, people eating. Weird thing is, all because of the pandemic. You wouldn't see this. All these restaurants would be inside. Due to the pandemic, they're all outside now. Good and bad. Good is it looks great, people enjoy it, whatnot. Bad is, people get a little stupid. They drink and they do stupid things in my neighborhood. So look at this place. Interesting. Good friend of mine, Mark Petrigno, owns it. Look what he named it. And where is it? It's on a corner. What's the name of the store? The fucking corner store. Mark Petrigno used to be in a band, born and raised here in the North End, has a business now in the North End, and he'll die in the North End, just like myself. So here we are, Hanover Street, the center of Hanover Street. Behind me, very famous cafe, the Vittoria. Couple of fun stories. First story, I met Al Pacino when I was like 18. My friend Benny DeLuca, I had mentioned earlier, calls me up. He says, hey, guess what? Fucking Al Pacino's having a coffee at the Vittoria. I said, get the fuck out of here. He says, yeah, he's showing The Godfather 3 and he's in town for a little bit. I run. Come here, me, Benny, a whole bunch of people, obviously. He was sitting right by the window right here having a coffee. I go inside, good friend of mine worked in there, Kenny, give me something to write on. He gives me one of the checks. Mr. Pacino, I go up, and I'm shaking, literally shaking, scared shitless. I can't believe it's Pacino. And I go, Mr. Pacino, as polite as I can, I'll never meet you again. This is the once in a lifetime opportunity for me. Do you mind if I get your autograph? Sipping an espresso, wiping his mouth, gets up, what's your name, son? Anthony. He puts his hand out, hugs me, kisses me on the cheek, and signs to Anthony from Al P, best wishes. I still have that autograph at home. Another good story is 2021, coming out of a club, got into a jam a week earlier. I guess a kid thought he could come into the North End and pay me back, so to speak. Pulls over here, there used to be a place called the Pompeii. Comes out of a car with 3 other kids, baseball bats. We go toe to toe, right in the middle of Hanover, like 1, 2 in the morning. Boom, boom. I think about 2, 3 hits, but I gave just as good as I got. They tried to flee. They jumped back in their car. A friend of mine, Michael, we'll call him Mike, he knows who he is, says, hey, what are you all doing watching him? Wow, he's doing so great. We can't believe what's going on. This is amazing. Fuck that. He's like, he pops his trunk, which happened to be in his car in Hanover, sawed-off shotgun. As they drove down Hanover Street, boom, he blasts out their back windows. Something right out of a movie, but it was real life. A real life North End story. So here we are. Basically, this is an intersection. You got Prince Street right here, Salem Street right here. A lot of restaurants in this small little area and bakeries as well. Behind me is Monica's, Monica Mercato, which is a cold cut or Italian specialty store run by my friend Frankie and Pat Pato Mendoza. Their brother George has a place, the Vintoteca di Monica on Richmond Street. They also have a restaurant across the way, Monica's Trattoria. Wonderful people came here from Argentina when I was real young. Their mom and dad were here. Mom always used to feed us on Sundays. A wonderful woman, a wonderful family, stayed here, put down roots, and now run businesses here. Love them, love their food, love everything about them. Famous bakery right here, Bova's, another family I knew. Hami Bova lived in Cleveland Place where I grew up. Good friends with her son Mark, Anthony. You got Pat Bova that runs it right now, a very dear friend of mine, and I owe him like 20 bucks for a free cheesecake that he gave me when it was so busy. I was with a girl and I was like, please Pat, let me get a piece of cheesecake. I can't wait in line, she's gonna kill me. He went, here, take it. And I took off and I never paid him. Pat, I'll be by soon to give you that $20. But Bova's and their family, also a tradition in the North End. Love them to death, God bless them, long live them. So speaking of Mark Bova, now Mark, Mark was a wild kid. He's a little dangerous, a little funny, a lot of stuff all wrapped up in one. One crazy story. Right here, he used to work, it's his family's bakery, Mark Bova's, and he got a ladder. And he set it up that he put it underneath the guy's window. Who was the guy? Larry Lumps was his nickname. He took a lot of lumps growing up. Well, Mark got one of the regatta pies from Bova's. He went up to the ladder, and he went to the window, and he knocked on it and ducked. The guy went, who's there? Open the window. He opened the window to look out. Mark hit him right in the face. Boom! With a pie. A fucking crazy story, a legendary story, and a true story from a true OG. Bova's Bakery. Manon. As you can see, my dear friends, night has fallen on my beautiful North End and the city of Boston. As we bid adieu, we had a wonderful day. We walked, we talked, and we saw some beautiful sights. I thank you for watching. God bless each and every one of you. Ciao for now. Buonanotte. Bye.